Welcome to the Disrupt Now podcast, episode 77.
What makes people excited is progress. You don't have to be at the goal yet to feel alive again. You have to be progress.
Just do right. Right may not be expedient. It may not be profitable, but it will satisfy your soul.
What matters most is finding your inner purpose.
Welcome to the Disrupt Now podcast, created by Natalie Viglione. This podcast is designed to help humans embrace change, transform, and evolve. Natalie is a cycle breaker, truth seeker, a priestess and healer, teacher, and a guide. This podcast's intent is to live and breathe truth, find and connect with authentic stories, and help raise consciousness. The purpose is to heal and awaken humans, to help you live the life that you want to live, a life of freedom and purpose. This will provide you with the tools, tips, and techniques to help you embrace the fact that it's necessary to disrupt the status quo. Please join Natalie and her guests on the journey to move humanity to a much higher level of consciousness and create more mindful conversations for us to explore together.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to Disrupt Now podcast. This is Natalie, and today I have Devon McConnell with me, and let me tell you about her before we jump on into this episode. So Devin is a former Fortune 100 executive with 20 years of experience in transforming organizations, businesses, and teams. And she's a part of the great group who you've heard before, Marengo. So we'll talk about that. And she holds an MBA from Columbia Business School and was certified as an executive coach from Columbia University. So Devin weaves mindfulness practices into her executive coaching to help clients better manage stress, bring more energy, laughter, which we all need, success and well-being into their lives. And today we're going to be really focusing around this topic of leveling up while we stay true to who we are. And Devin, I'm excited to talk to you as part of the beautiful Marengo coaching team.
Natalie, it's so good to be here. Thank you.
Yes. And if everyone's watching the video, if you're not watching the video, I highly recommend going to watch the video. And Devin has beautiful hair. So just wanted to stay. Just call it out. Just call it out.
Always good to hear in the morning during the pandemic, Natalie. Thank you.
When doing hair is not always a priority. Let's face it. Let's face it. All right. So I love your background. I love that you've weaved mindfulness into your coaching. And I think that is such a huge focus we've talked about this with May Epson, who's, also Marengo, but, this is just I love how everyone has their own flavor and unique approach to doing these things. And so let's go back a little bit. Fortune 100 executive. So A, what does that mean to people so they know? B, what is some of the things that you've had to go through in your journey and wrapping mindfulness into this to get kind of where you are today? Let's dive into that first, and then we'll go from there.
And you said it, today I coach CEOs, executives, and founders who are really at a crossroads, similar to the crossroads that I found myself at in their business and career. And I just help them move from where they are today to really where they want to be. Mm-hmm. And in truth, I always wanted to do this work, even though it took me some time to get here. My first career was, as you said, helping organizations disrupt themselves before the tech industry could. Mm-hmm. And I loved that work because I felt like it was really mission driven. I was helping improve customer experience at these large financial firms doing these digital transformations. And we were creating products that I felt truly had more value and brought more value to these millions of customers. So I felt really great about the work. But while I loved those jobs, I never enjoyed being a part of a large organization when I'm really honest about it. I found that very hard as someone who had a creative background, and it was the structures and ranking team members next to each other. I found those things really hard. But over time, there was just really one question that kept playing in my mind, and that was, how do you want to spend your hours? And not just how do you want to spend your time, but how do you want to spend your finite, discrete hours? that's what kept rolling through my mind. And it just became louder and louder and louder. It just becomes hard to enjoy your job or enjoy your life when you feel like you're really meant to be someplace else doing something else.
Totally.
You mentioned the mindfulness piece. So I'll mention this quote by Gandhi that I love, which is, happiness is when your thoughts, your words, and actions are all in alignment. And that was another quote that really grounded me at that time. And so, through this transition, now I get to do the work that I know I should always be doing, and I can think of no better way to spend my time than helping others drive more impact in the world and feel more energy in their lives.
Energy. That's a big one.
Yeah. Yes, that is something we're all craving, and particularly, in these times.
Oh yeah, totally. Totally. Now, okay. So obviously disruption, love the word. Just
kind of for you, Natalie.
Kind of the ethos. But I'm interested to dive in a little bit on, like when did you feel that energy starting to split for you? Like, the work is disrupting and disruptive in order to transform and help these companies, really make things that are a little more valuable. But it's like from the outside, everyone's like, why would you disrupt what you're doing? Because aren't you doing what you want to do? So let's talk about that. Like, how did you feel?
Well, and I've heard you use the word leveling up too. And, I'll start there because I always, while I view what I'm doing, what I did is level up, I don't know if anyone else would view it that way. I left my career at its height at a time when others, were, I had opportunities and I was still young and I could have kept going. But, success isn't defined by money or titles. I had to learn, I had a C-level title and the compensation that went along with it at this large company before I was 40. But I never felt successful. I always felt like I was failing in some way because I wasn't doing what I thought, what I knew I should be doing. I always felt the pull to do something else. And when you just feel like there's something out there, that you're meant to be doing, you have some major changes to make, and it takes some time to do it. And first thing was my mindset. Learning how to define success for myself instead of, the success that I had kind of been told to go for. The success not being the money or the titles. And again, for me, just going back to that idea that time is the finite thing, and how I spend my time, is what I'm giving back to the world. And that's what would make me feel more successful. So really getting clear on that mindset for myself and defining success for myself was probably the first step. And also, I'll tell you a little bit on the personal side. Yes, I made this huge career transition, but one of the big things I had to do to be able to do that was set myself up on the personal side. Not only was I questioning how I spent my time at work, but also my husband and I started to question how we were spending our time at home and with our family. And we made some major changes. We realized we didn't want to spend our time at Home Depot anymore. We didn't want to spend our time managing landscapers or doing home renovations. And so we traded in our 5,400 square foot home for a 950 square foot rental for my family of four. And we did this by choice.
That's awesome.
And it's my favorite home, Natalie, that I've ever lived in. I think other people looked at our move and they were like, they thought that we were a little crazy, being this family of four in this small space, particularly during the pandemic. But, my husband and I like to, whenever people look at it, they're like, no, it's inspired. We kept telling ourselves it's an inspired choice. Now we can walk our kids to school. We can walk pretty much anywhere. We got rid of a lot of belongings that we never used. And while it was a lot of work to do it, it's really freeing. It was really freeing for us once it was complete. But it was a lot of work and it was a lot of preparation. And that was also something that we mentally needed to do and shed for me to be able to make some of the career transitions I made. And so, for me, I think I leveled down potentially in a lot of people's eyes, professionally in my personal life, because of the changes I made. I no longer had that title or that salary or the big home. But for me and my family, we feel like we really leveled up in the quality of our life and the way that we're spending our hours. And this all taught me something that I help clients with too, about, at some point you really need to define your own success. Yes. And you have the courage to go up against the grain to start living it. And it sounds easy to say, what do you want? And, just go after it. But it's not. There's a lot of wind in your face as you're doing it and a lot of questions. So really feeling grounded in what your definition of success is, and then being able to go do it is a real key to finding that energy that we were just talking about.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that's beautiful. Beautiful story. I share so much of that in terms of, before I was 40, I was doing all the right things, had the big title, worked in that marketing agencies, New York City, blah, blah, blah. And then I was like, wait a minute, my soul is that way. I'm over here. So there's some things wrong. And it's interesting that... So you guys made this huge transition in like this last year, then from the home side.
Years. I would say it really took us 5 years to make the full transition that we were making.
That is awesome. Yeah. And that's the other piece to this. It's like letting go of all of these societal definitions of how they define success for us.
It's true.
Okay, so tell me some of the crazy moments. You guys had to kind of probably sit around and go, what the F are we doing? But no, like you said, this is intentional. Like we're doing this, this is purposeful. So how did you guys kind of meet those moments? Because I think that's an interesting point, especially for people right now, when leveling up is defined by you.
Yeah.
Like not them.
I mean, I'd say the craziest moments were definitely just dealing with the stuff, the stuff that becomes baggage, and realizing that we had a home that was just storing stuff that we no longer really wanted, right? That we were paying to store stuff that we no longer really wanted, and that we were renovating homes that and it just becomes this pile on.
Yeah.
Right. And so we just had to get really clear about the things that mattered to us. There are still things that we kept from our old life. Our kids being in the school that we loved, which is a private school. We really felt like paying for that experience for them was still worth it, right? And that was, and so that was still something that we're investing in. Paying, for renovating kitchens, I hope to have on my tombstone after the age of 40, Devin never renovated another kitchen. I never want to do that again. So, and I think the other crazy moments for us were really when we were just, Craigslisting and, trying to find good homes for our things. And the funny stories that would come along from that, all the people we met and, and the fun times though of seeing your things that no longer loved going to someone who suddenly really loved it. That also felt really good. And I love that part of the online marketplace. Of connections that happen. And it's something that I now, we now love buying secondhand things because we also love kind of that connection, and there's an environmental factor and everything else in it too. So
exactly. I love that. That's so beautiful. Well, congratulations on that huge shift because, my husband and I, we're feeling very much the same. I mean, this past year really makes you take a look. I mean, I left material when you moved to New York City with nothing, like you realize, okay, I never needed that shit anyway.
It's true.
What was how many shoes?
Place to store it.
Exactly. So, okay, so you're working with, executives and these people are in these crossroads, which define crossroads for you. What are you seeing a lot of in like this in your work?
Yeah, so I'd say it falls into a couple of camps. Executives who were similar to me and really feel like they should be either doing something else and sort of looking to make a big transition in one way or another, or are thinking of starting a business, or are thinking of, reaching, how to reach for the promotion, the C-suite, wherever they want to go next. So, in transition, in motion, in some direction, or CEOs and founders who are at a crossroads in their business. Or careers themselves. So that's really the area. So it comes down to crossroads, I'd say, in career or business for that group of people.
Right. Yeah. Which is huge because either way you're looking at it, they do have to learn how to define success for themselves first, right?
Exactly. To feel that, again, to feel that energy and that in their day. I sometimes say, we're all looking to have years that have impact and hours that feel energized, right?
Exactly.
And
right.
So finding that way that you feel good about having impact in the world is what will help give you energy too.
Right.
So.
Right. Now, this is where mindfulness comes into play, right? So either way you look at it, because I think, look, I obviously climbing up that corporate ladder is a thing that we're all kind of shown from the beginning as that's the path. Yeah. Though that's not the path. But, for me, that felt like my path until it wasn't. But, what are some things that you tell people in terms of getting really in touch with? I mean, that's whatever your tool set is, like mindfulness wise, because I think that's really great for people to hear too. Because that's really what aligns us in staying true to who we are as we're like making all these disruptive changes for the better, whatever that looks like.
It is so important. We all need our grounding things, and for me, and I was saying this to you before too, for me, it's always being on the trail, right? I'm a trail runner and also a big trekker and hiker. And so that's one of my happy places. Also writing and laughing with family and friends. That also keeps me feeling full and whole. I do meditate and in a style that I call Jersey style meditation, which is basically sit down, shut up, and be still for 18 minutes a day. And that's what I say to my clients too. You could get the apps, you can do whatever you're going to do. But really, at the end of the day, all you need to do is sit down, shut up, and be still for a period of time. And that is meditation. And and that's what works for me. It's when it's how I clear my head at the end of the day. I always have a notebook and paper next to me so that anything that does come up, because that's usually when my problems start to solve themselves, I write it down so that I can just keep meditating and not, get stuck on something. So that's my style of meditation. And also the one
I love that
I promote, being the Jersey girl that I am, how could I not name it that?
My husband's a Jersey boy.
Well, gotta love Jersey. But I think also in a more abstract sense, it's about learning your own rhythm and then following it and not letting anything sway you from your rhythm and the pace that works for you. And that pace is slower often than the world pushes us to be. I work with CEOs and executives, as we talked about, and no one has ever come to me saying, Devin, can you help me be more productive or go faster in my life?
Right.
It's always the opposite, right? All those 90s books, those 90s corporate books of how to be more productive, we're past that, thankfully. And so,
right.
all of my clients are really like wanting to find that slower pace and that rhythm that works for them. And it's not just about feeling good. That's definitely a part of it, or feeling more. It's imperative for them at the stage that they are in their business and the place that they've risen to, and in their lives, to be who they need to be for all the people who rely on them. Hurrying creates anger, and going slower is the answer. But
absolutely,
it's not easy. It's like training a new muscle. So one of the things I do a lot of writing exercises with clients, which sounds like it's like, oh, writing exercises, but everyone always says it's one of the ways that they end up gaining the most insights, because writing helps slow us down. It helps us slow our thoughts down. And that helps to start build that muscle.
Totally. I love that. Nature, I can't even describe like what it had, because I realized, for me, like San Francisco is like very beautiful, and you can really connect because you just walk to the water and you're like right there, when you're living right there in San Francisco proper. And that just was amazing. And then I remember moving to New York City, and I just got stripped. Like the nature piece was because unless you're in Central Park, which by the way, that's not nature. That's just a zoo of crazy, though probably very different today.
I always love Central Park, but yes, it's not quite the same.
No, you don't feel like tapped in. Like you just, so nature, I like you just touch a tree and there's just something about this, like your whole energy. Well, grounding, it's real. So when are you seeing that there is, especially in the past year or so, are you seeing people really, really, I think things have changed a lot. And so are you seeing a lot of people really reflecting and saying, I don't think I'm on the right path here or whatever that looks like. Are you seeing more of that?
Well, for better or for worse, I think that that's always been a case. There's a recent Gallup poll, I think it was from 2017, that showed that, of the 1 billion workers in the world, only 15% are saying that they feel engaged in their work, which means like
That's so low.
85% are saying that they aren't feeling fulfilled. And it's not necessary, it doesn't have to be that way.
Right.
So I think the pandemic is giving people a time to reflect and hopefully some space to make some changes.
Totally.
But I also don't think that it's a new trend.
Right. Just maybe one that they're actually, people are actually being faced with big time. Some people call this one interview that I did, cosmic frying pan hits them in the face, right? I love that.
And I definitely, there's a lot of people out there who have had that. I like that term, that cosmic frying pan. And it feels that way, I think, for a lot of folks.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why, well, I mean, it's like mindfulness kind of turns us inward, which is really personal development at the end of the day, like a very simple. So for you, when you were when you were in those high level positions, I mean, you worked with like BlackRock, group. And so these are like huge financial organizations, right? So how are you balancing those worlds a little bit before you made that jump? Because that's where a lot of people, I think, is in this, like, one leg's over here, and most of us can't do the splits. So like we have our legs in two different places. It's not comfortable.
And it's a really important question, because as you rise in your career and also have more and more personal responsibilities, the term that I use is self-leadership becomes more key to your success, more so than your hard skills. Mm-hmm. Being who you need to be to yourself and to those who rely on you, that really becomes the determination of success. And, I think self-leadership, it goes beyond even the self-care, the self-care things that we were just talking about. And it even goes a little bit beyond, self-management. It's really about how you move from reactivity to responsiveness. Mm-hmm. It's understanding, that anger, frustration, agitation, all these things that come up when you have a large role and are balancing a lot of things in your life, they're secondary emotions, and they're protecting you from some of the harder feelings that you might want to avoid, like fear and embarrassment and feelings of worth. And being able to catch those feelings in the process, in a situation, and when you're having a conversation, being able to recognize that and catch it and turn it into and identify it and work through it quickly so that you can have a positive impact instead of a negative one.
Right.
Are the things that are going to have a longstanding, impact on your career, your relationships, your reputation, your legacy, not to mention motivate or demotivate your team or support or scupper a project or decision, and those people, if you look around, those people in your life who really have good self-leadership and strong resilience. They're the people you respect.
Yeah.
And how do we cultivate that in ourselves? And that's, that was probably one of my hardest lessons. Having the corporate career I had, is learning how to build self-leadership and that resilience in the face of everything that comes with working at that level and having all the demands on you in your life. Right.
Right. So I've come to learn that what I noticed often is this split between like life, business. So it's like two Natalies, two Devins, not saying that you would, but I felt often that I tried to separate these worlds just because my very spiritual, soulful, spiritual hippie self didn't mesh well with my corporate, in the boardroom, mostly men surrounding me, life. And so it was very confusing. The only time it felt normal or okay was when I was like, you said, like, you're out in nature, you're out, running, whatever.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like, you get up on Monday and you go in and you're like, crap, I'm split again.
Yeah. And that split, it's unsustainable.
Right.
It's unsustainable. And I think that, it really takes a toll. Not only do we not feel energy when we, in our life, when we feel that split, but I think that's where those feelings, a lot of people talk about imposter syndrome or other things, which, I mean, I don't know if I really believe in imposter syndrome, frankly, but, I think that that feeling of a split, I think particularly hits women hard.
Totally.
But that's not, and I think anyone who is not, often a white, cisgendered, heterosexual, tall man sometimes feels that way, in the current corporate world. But,
Totally.
I think that we're making strides to change it, but it takes time. And I think that for folks who are feeling that split, and words like imposter syndrome are out there and everything else, it's important to recognize that the things that you're feeling are valid. The pulls that you're feeling are valid. They're not a syndrome. They're not they don't need to be pathologized. They're real. You're picking up on real senses, and it's because there's change happening in the corporate world, right? There's change happening. It's becoming more open to diverse populations, but we're not there yet.
Right.
And so I think acknowledging that, recognizing the way you feel about it, again, that self-leadership of understanding, okay, this is how I feel. That's valid. There are things I'm picking up on, my gut is telling me something, but it doesn't have to guide every decision I make. I don't need to, feel that anger or anything. I need to channel this in a way that's going to be positive for me and my goals, or make some big changes too.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So for you, like you said, other people could say I was leveling down. Not true at all, but again, perceptions, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But so adding on coaching and bringing that into your experience and stepping into that role and to, make this your business and life.
Yeah.
That was a level up. But what did it really mean for you overall? Like, what was that what has that impact been today? Because it's been a while since you've been doing that now.
It's the same impact I try to drive for my clients, where I really feel like I'm helping people, I'm adding value to the world, and it's the value I want to add. I feel like I'm having impact in the lives of not just my clients, but my clients all have a lot of people that rely on them. So helping them be the person they need to be in their world. And then also I feel a lot of energy. I wake up and I'm excited for the day. And that is where you want to be. So for me personally, all the changes I made professionally as well as personally, I no longer have to wake up and, feel like I live in a construction zone, because there's always some piece of, home improvement going on. I now can just call one number whenever something goes wrong in my house. And, our lives are simpler because that's where we realized we didn't want to spend our time, and where we did want to spend our time was being with our family and outdoors and doing the work that we both loved.
I love that. Yes. And what do levels of value, like, what does that mean to you? Because I think that's a really interesting concept, because I think there are levels of value, especially as we evolve, hopefully. If there's no evolution, we have other things to talk about and there's problems, but what does levels of value look like, and how do you kind of help manage that for clients?
So I would love to hear what it means. I'm going to throw that one back at you, Natalie. I'm going to trick you on this one.
Yeah.
Tell me what levels of value mean to you.
Thinking of like how we're bridging our worlds, because the value at home is like time, right? Yeah. But maybe we're not bringing that into our business, for example, or our career, and we're not looking at life in the same way. So the value there is like, is not time, because you're spending all your time putting out fires, or, there's just some kind of like disconnect
Right.
And so I feel like there's levels, and sometimes our levels just aren't matching, or they're off, or again, I think this different worlds spinning in different ways. I think now more than ever, I'm observing that people are really feeling like, shit, what do I really even value, like in this space and in this space? And,
I would, I think for me, it feels simpler these days. It is just, there are only a certain number of hours in my day, and there's only a certain number of hours in my life, period. And I want to make sure, and each year will look a little bit different because my home life looks a little different as my kids keep aging. Right now we're in a place where they need me more than they were going to need me in 10 years. Right. And so my hours go more towards that. But I'm also in a place where I have a business. I'm an executive coach, and I want to make sure, I'm also devoting hours to that. But it's not, they're all equal hours. I don't feel like there's levels of those hours. They're all equal hours. And each hour, the only thing I want to make sure of is that each hour I'm spending in a way that I really feel is going to have the impact I want to have, and that I need to have. So for me, it's less about the levels and more about each discrete hour, and just really being clear about what I feel the impact is I want to have in the world, what my intention is, and doing that. And it goes back to that idea of moving back from reactivity, just things coming at me from all directions and like just having to react, to being really intentional in where I want to spend my time, and then being slow enough so that, moving slowly enough so that as things are coming, I'm able to respond, with that intention.
Yes, that's what I hear, is just intention. And that's probably a lot of the work that you're doing is, let's get intentional here.
Intention. So I have a 3-prong process that I work on with clients. And the first, they're interconnected. I don't say they're linear, but intention is the first piece. Really getting clear. I say the scariest thing you can ever turn to someone and say is like, what do you want? Because it's just too much. Like, but we have a lot of ways. We have a lot of ways of like really starting to uncover what we, like when I work with clients, what is the most important thing to them, without all the shoulds that we all feel. The shoulds belong there for a reason. We give them power in our lives, and understanding why we do and what benefit they have for us, and then learning which ones to let go of, which ones are no longer serving us. And so getting very clear on the intention. And then the second step is attention. Attention is the thing that everyone in our life is clamoring over. Everyone from our family to work to social to media, like everything. Our attention is incredibly valuable. And so really looking at, are we aligning our intention, our intentions with our attention, right? Are they fueling each other? Are they working against one another? And then taking action where we need to refocus. So that is a lot of the work.
It is just that alignment alone is, that's so important. So important. Oh my God. So how have you, like, through these processes and the way that you're working with people, how are you really, in short, like, how are you continuously leveling up in that and moving through the flow? Because I think that's a really important piece to being a coach, right? Yeah. Is this constant evolution of yourself, but like making sure you're staying true to the core. What are some things that I
would say I'm a consummate reader and learner. I'm always I'm always looking for new techniques and new ways to help people move to where they want to go. I weave in, as I said, a lot of writing. And so I'm always studying ways to do that. I weave in, I love studying improv, or at least I did before pandemic. And I think that, bringing in some of those practices are really valuable. I used to run retreats again before the pandemic. So again, bringing people out into nature. So, I think I'm a creative by my first career, and I love to find different ways to weave in some ways that some more creative and healing ways that will help people.
Yes, I love that. And writing is, I'm a writer, so I love anything. I think you're so spot on with that, because it's that time to really reflect and also, use this muscle with this pen.
Yes,
or
it's
pencil.
A very physical exercise. It's a very physical activity. People don't think of it that way, but it really is. And there's something about holding a pen and paper, even better than a keyboard. So.
Oh, totally. Like a different connection, right?
Definitely.
And half the time I can't read my writing, I realize. So I'm like, oh, I got to work on that also.
I have terrible writing. Don't worry about that. I'm known for terrible writing.
I'm like, that's why I take notes on the computer first. So
journal,
bad.
The page itself won't judge you as long as no one else needs to read it.
You'll figure it out eventually.
Yeah.
So what tips do you have for people that are in this space that you're really honing in on? We Disrupt Now audience is kind of a mixed bag of people in different areas. But, I think that the root here is getting unstuck, kind of that first. So what are some things that you can share?
I think if there's one thing I would say, it's be the person who pushes you forward instead of holds you back. If you're feeling stuck in your career or your business, you're not sure which direction to take your business, don't stay stuck. Invest in yourself. There's abundance in this world, not scarcity. There's an abundance of opportunity, for you. So there's no reason to stay in that stuck place. And, I talk to a lot of entrepreneurs and executives who are at these crossroads and are looking for coaching. And I ask them, 6 months from now, so July 2021, it's coming no matter what. Like, we can't stop it. It will be here, right? Where do you want to be? Where do you want to be in that 6 months? And are you on the path to that place now? And if not, what do you think is possible for your business, career, life, if you invested more in yourself and the support you needed, either through coaching or some other means, right? Mm-hmm. Do you feel like those possibilities are closer to where you really want to be in that 6 months? And so I think it is about understanding those possibilities, and making that investment in yourself. Because coaching isn't right for everyone. But if you're stuck and you don't know if you're on the right path to reach your goals, it might be time to invest in yourself and try something that's helped others. And I just think it's about, it's about thinking through the changes you really need to see in your life and want to see in your life. And then what will get there. But again, just being the person who pushes yourself forward, not holds yourself back, I think is really a key one in making that investment.
Yes. And from an investment standpoint, like, if it is coaching, great. But what are some other things that you like to see people investing in? Like, what does that, what can that look like? Do you think?
Development. Coaching is one aspect of development. But taking a course,
there's lots of those.
There's lots of those out there. But also, one of the other things I just say to any clients is one of the things ways that we start an engagement. I ask every client to try one new habit for the 6 months, that we are our initial engagement. And that can be starting a journal, trying meditation. It could be something that they've been telling themselves they should be trying, for ages. And this will just be the, give them the excuse to do it, because I'm going to be asking them about it every couple of weeks. And so they'll feel some account. And so it gives them an excuse. Or it could be something as small as just, I want to take 10 breaths when I wake up in the morning before I pick up my phone, right? I want to have a cup of tea with my husband before we go to bed. It could be that small, but just a daily habit. Because when you just can change something daily for yourself, it can change your whole perspective. And if you can change your perspective, you can change your life. So, I think just doing something that, even just investing that amount of time in yourself every day, it can be that small of an investment, right? Can make a big change.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think we're always making this so complicated. Like, you have to move to India for 6 months to go sit with a guru, it's like, no, geez, like,
do that. It could be, and for people who want to start a journaling practice, because that's a big thing right now. And I believe in that one because it slows us down.
Great.
It can be waking up and writing one word, a one-word intention for the day. What is the most important, what matters most today? Write one word.
Totally. And I think these tips that you're saying are so imperative right now, because people are like, what the hell is happening? I'm like, here's my weird thing. I put on, by the way, just anybody that's needing some extra noise in the background, I put on one of those videos that have like the experiential like cafe with music.
So that you feel like you're amongst people again. I love it.
Stupid, but I'll tell you what, it makes a huge difference.
We are primates. We need to be around other people. We are living in a really strange way right now. I think a lot of people have found silver linings, but it's also been really hard.
Yeah. Again, splits.
Yeah, there is a good split. I agree with your split.
Well, awesome, Devin. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing this because, and by the way, with Marengo, as you've heard in the past episodes, please go check them out if you haven't yet. But you do get a discount going if you're a Disrupt Now podcast listener and audience member. So if you are interested in potentially working with Devin, please get in touch. Blaire, who you heard in the initial kickoff of this series, told us all about, why she started the company, what this really means, and how everyone has that connected into Columbia University and that certification. So everyone kind of works from this ethos, but everyone has their unique specialty. So Devin, thank you. I think your approach is beautiful. I love it. I love the mindfulness and the bringing this all together. Very, very, very important.
Thank you, Natalie. And thank you to all the listeners. I really enjoyed being a part of Disrupt Now.
And it's all about disruption, guys, but it's not a bad thing. And I love that. I just want to say again, how you've taken kind of that minimalist, bringing things into this simple space. I think that's beautiful. So
we are enjoying ourselves. So that's
awesome. It's awesome. Yeah. And that's another thing, guys. Think about it. Think about simplifying because we don't need more complications in our lives. So thanks again. And we'll see you on the next episode. Thanks, Devin.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. And please, in the meantime, if you know anyone or you want to pitch your story, please get in touch with us at disruptnowprogram.com, or you can get in touch with me on Instagram at disruptwithnatalie. Of course, all the information is on our website. Again, thank you. And in the meantime, remember, no status quo.